Welcome to Comic Station, issue number 18 for May 1st, 2013. I'm Paul Nisi for Fun Towards Gamer.
And I'm Scott Cates at the Comic Station.
Today we're going to prove that maybe being the biggest publisher is not the best, as well as a review and a recommendation from Scott. For the new releases for May 1st, 2013, we're going to kick off with the big publisher is DC Comics Movement number 1. This is one of their New 52. I'm not familiar with this title. I don't know if there's been one previously. New 52 usually reintroduces new things, but reintroduces older issues, but this seems fairly new. The basic premises of the movement is these tweens, these probably around 18 or 19-year-old kids, have these powers, and they have quarantined a certain section, kind of like a gang, of the city where they own that territory. You find this out a little bit into the comic book, but it's not really ruining anything. Basically, you also find out that there are cops, and the cops are not all clean. There are a number of dirty cops, and despite some of the well-intentions of the chief of police, things just keep happening. But that little area that has been quarantined, they kind of take care of themselves. They're their own society. They have their own rules. The cops can't come in, and they take care of their own. Really interesting way, very modern way of taking care of the first instance with the dirty cops. But then you find out that not everybody with powers is benevolent, but not everything is what it seems. And this can kind of be taken as a metaphor with the kids, where at first you think the cops are the good guys, and maybe they aren't, and then maybe they are, and it's kind of going back and forth. So the only problem with this comic, though, is obviously it's a number 1, it's setting it up, but there's nobody recognizable, nobody really stands out. The only person that really stands out ends up not really, in the essence, really mattering, and the point is kind of lost in this.
Yeah, I mean, I've read this one. I think it's another one of the DC stretches, and I don't see it long to be on the shelves. I mean, unless it's leading somewhere else, but for right now, it definitely does not do much for me.
It's definitely a attempt to get into the more modern and younger age, especially with technology and cell phones playing a part in this, but again, the point is just kind of lost on me. The next one is actually one that has been going around. Some people are excited for this. This is Image Comics 10 Grand number 1, and this one, again with Image, really appropriate artwork. It's probably more on the raw side of art, but it's very fitting to the theme. A little darker colors, vibrant colors where it needs to be. Essentially, it follows Joe, who is a private investigator, and he works for 10 grand. As he says, it kind of weeds out the people that aren't really serious about it. And you find out he specializes in the supernatural. He has an angel contact, there's mentions of demonology, and one or more people may be coming back from the dead. Really interesting storyline on here. Basically, Joe died along with his old girlfriend in the line of his duty, which used to be a mob enforcer. He is offered redemption by an angel in order to save his soul. His girlfriend is going to heaven, he's not, and he's offered the chance to redeem himself, and for every righteous death that he gets to spend 5 minutes with her. And he has to serve for an undetermined amount of time for this angel. So it's a really interesting story. There is some weird, interesting humor in here. He's kind of quirky. I like the humor part, especially the part where he summons an angel. So in a kind of off-putting way, he kind of summons the angel in a strip club, so it kind of puts her in an interesting situation. So it's kind of funny, that part. Otherwise, the humor could be lost on people. If you like Image, if you like supernatural investigators, or a few out there already, it's a really nice entry. I'm on the back burner here, looking to see what they do in future issues.
And I am looking forward to reading it. I have not read this one yet, but it's J. Michael Straczynski, who, if you remember from last Comic Station, he wrote the Superman Earth 1 series, which I highly recommended. He's done some really great work. Some of you might know him from Babylon 5. So I'm looking forward to reading this, and I'm going to I'll give it a 2, 3, 4 issue run.
Yeah, the writing in here is probably the best part of it. Really saves it. It's just the overall story. I'm gonna hold out a little bit and see about future issues. And the last comics for our number ones today is from Boom, and this is Suicide Risk. This one starts off right away. It's an after-action report from a police officer that was involved in a attempted arrest of these superpowered villains. So there's regular cops, there's supervillains, and there are superheroes. What's left of the superheroes? You're getting the sense that the supervillains are kind of running things. They're outnumbering them. And without spoiling anything, they get to the point where the cops take a beating. Leo is the main protagonist in this, and I liked him. He's a good cop, and he saw a lot of his friends die that day, so he's trying to do something about it. And along the lines, it's introduced that in this world, you don't develop. He even says in here, you don't. It's kind of crazy. You don't get it from a radioactive camel or whatever, and he says something like that. But instead, you can actually buy powers. So he uses his police knowledge. He tracks down. He uncodes something, and he finds how to get powers. And he is trying to get powers in order to be a good cop, trying to get revenge, basically, on these villains, trying to be a hero. However, it's kind of hinted at, and I'm looking forward to finding out, because it's hinted at that some of the villains that are currently there used to be heroes, particularly one named Diva. So you don't know how he's going to be affected by this power. Is it a drug kind of thing? Is it a control? You don't know how it's going to work. So that's really interesting. It also leaves off, you don't quite know if everything goes as planned. For the artwork on this, I really liked it. It was crisp, clean, really beautiful. They had a really good scene with some bright colors, and I really like the artwork. It doesn't overly stand out, but everything was really well done and really crisp, clean, good lines, and right up along with some of the larger producers. So.
Well, I will definitely read it. I'm starting to like Boom a lot more as a company. They keep putting out better and better products. So I'm always looking for something new from them to read, just to see how they're progressing as a company. So I'll look forward to reading that one.
Yeah, of the three mentioned, this one is probably the most standout. This is the one I enjoyed the most. But coming up next is our review and recommendations, so stick around. For the review today, we have from Dark Horse Comic, Michael Aving Omings, The Victories Transhuman #1. This is a continuation of the Victories from Owing previously, and it picks right up after a monumental fight and attack on the U.S. infrastructure, where we are already introduced into a world where the infrastructure has been destroyed. They're kind of like an EMP went off all over the world. No electronics are working, lights are out, and the world is in darkness. This comic is a lot heavier than most comics nowadays on its themes. They have dark, gritty themes in here, a lot of personal, and it not just expands from the world-heavy theme of how humanity maybe shines better in the dark, where from the darkness people actually can come out and be themselves, and actually, being technology down, you're forced to be face to face, and that's probably a good thing. But it goes all the way down and delves into the individuals. One of these individuals is the main character of the hero, and Dee Dee Mao, and she, as I said, is a hero. She's super powered, but her power comes with a downside. She is super fast, super strong, almost invulnerable, but because of this she has a metabolism that causes her to basically store energy. So, as she says, when she wakes up, she's 250 pounds when she wakes up. She runs for an hour in the morning to burn off this extra energy, which is the weight, because her energy stored is weight, causing her to have a lot of self-image problems. And I really like this for the fact that it's addressing some of these issues. There are some other heroes that are flawed, and they all have issues. Some of the other heroes that she works with, they don't delve into them too far, but you can already start to see some of these flaws coming through and how their personality quirks can be delved into later. The storyline can be a little bit confusing. It starts off with one character and his internal monologue, and then switches to Dee Dee Mao's, and then switches back to him at the end. And that transition can be a little lost if you don't notice the slight change in color in the internal monologue bubbles. But once you get it, it's really good. You may have to read it once or twice to get the meaning behind everything, or maybe miss the part. But something like this, where it is deeper ideas, probably deserves a second reading. The artwork is a little on the raw side. It is darker, but it's really nice. As far as normally the art style is not one that I would enjoy, but it really complements the themes. The dark work, the raw, the internal struggles. So when taken as a whole, the artwork is nice. Taken separately, it's probably not the style I would like. Also, there should be a little warning. There is no warning on the cover, but there is a lot of vulgarity. Sex is a big part of the story. There is nudity, but it's kind of done in a, well, it is done in an appropriate, complementing way to the story. It's not just thrown out there for the sake of being thrown out there in shock. But of course, there is still nudity. There is a lot of vulgarity. Dee Dee Mao has a beautiful mouth on her, in the worst way. But so it is definitely adult, and the themes and anything should be adult anyways. Some of these self-image issues could probably be nice for teens to read, but everything else puts it way above that age group. Overall, I gave it a 7.5 out of 10, which is good, a higher end of good, and it's basically taken as a whole package. Individually, the storyline is a little confusing, the artwork is not my style, but the interesting and the way that Michael Oemings really puts forward these ideas, I really enjoyed. Michael Oeming also, as with some of the Dark Horse, he is the author, the artist, and the, I believe, the lines. So he wrote it and he drew it, and he also does the cover. So it is everything except for certain parts of here is Michael Oeming. So that's really cool to see. And again, 7.5 out of 10, good, and I recommend it. It's really nice, interesting ideas. And we have a recommendation?
Absolutely. We're going to go back a little bit in time. This is The Killing Joke from our good friend Alan Moore, who most of you probably know from The Watchmen. But this is probably one of the best short stories of Batman. And going back into Batman lore, the Joker, once again, he's doing his thing.
It's always the Joker.
Always the Joker. And he is sitting here planning to do some stuff, and lo and behold, somebody gets shot and paralyzed. So all of you who read Batman know who that is. If you have not read this, you really should. It's part of, there's a few books of Batman, actually there's quite a few, but this is one of the main ones that you really should read. It's wonderfully written, it's wonderful, the artwork's fantastic in it, and it's not a real long read. You can get through it in one sitting, and it makes the Batman lore even better. So do yourself a favor, if you haven't read it, check it out.
Alright, that is our Comic Station issue number 18 for May 1st, 2013. We will also let you know that coming up, we're going to have some coverage on Free Comic Book Day. That is coming up this weekend. So we will have some coverage. We'll have a full list of at least all the comics that we have available locally, as well as you can check out the full list on an article coming up. And we'll also have coverage of the day itself. So if you ever missed it, if you always wanted to get into it, Free Comic Book Day is a great time to just come in and get introduced either to older series or new series for all ages. Alright? We will see you next week with the list of new releases, a review, and a recommendation. Thank you.
See you.